right, let me.
What's going on, everyone? Oh,
Sorry,
what were you saying?
doesn't matter. All I know is that's the intro.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to NeverLag. I'm one of your hosts, Levi, joined by the man who fell in the pit himself, Zach, and we're just a couple of your favorite hard-hitting journalists out here bringing you another episode of This Week in Gaming, the show where we bring you the news, reviews, and hot takes from the past week in video games and deliver it straight to your ear holes. If you're all about it, you can support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/neverlag. If you have no money, no problemo. Thank you for watching right here on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and let's talk some games. This week in gaming, we have, let me do a quick check, 7 stories to get to. So let's go ahead and start with story number 1. And this will be a theme here for our first few stories. We have review roundups, starting with Gran Turismo 7, which I think we were both looking forward to, right?
Oh yeah, yep. I think you more than me, but I'm excited for it. It's I think it'll be a nice change of pace from some of the other games we play.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't fit into the third-person action category as most of these games do. So right now, as of the 3rd of March, 2022, it is sitting at a Metacritic of 87 and on OpenCritic at an 88. Couple of reviews here. They're pretty succinct. I pulled one from GameSpot. They gave it an 8 out of 10. They say Gran Turismo 7 takes all the good bits of Gran Turismo's past, shakes it up, and adds a sprinkling of car culture to sweeten the deal. Polygon did not give it a score, but their little quote was, aging gracefully, Polyphony's racing series has never seemed more like itself. I used to think it was polyphony. I've heard it both ways. I like the way polyphony sounds better. So
Polyphony sounds
one or
way
the
better.
other.
Polyphony.
It does sound.
Yeah.
It sounds
Polyphony
not
sounds
good.
like that sounds like what you would pronounce it as a kid when you first play these games and you don't know how to say
Exactly.
it.
I've heard people still say that, so it makes me question it, but I'm going to stick with polyphony. Yes, exactly. So yeah, sweet and succinct there. This is about where I expected. I had hopes of 90s, but 87, 88, that kind of seems like par for the course here with Sony titles these days, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good score, right? That's basically sitting where Horizon is.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the whole review and scoring process is pretty up for debate in terms of like how much can you
it's
trust
been a heavy
it
discussion lately.
Yeah, but I mean that's a good score, and it seems like the game mostly is hitting for reviewers, which is great. I'm curious your take. Like you've played a lot more Gran Turismo than I have, but it seems like one of the core frustrations from people who are docking points is that some of the extraneous parts of the game that are not driving maybe feel cumbersome to a certain portion of the audience, such as the cafe. And like one of the reviews I saw talked about like having to spend all this time in the cafe and these other sections of the game that weren't actually in a car driving, which I can understand that critique. And I'm not sure how much that's going to be true for me or not, because I feel like they're going for something very specific with some of these decisions that have a point, but it seems like it's working for some people, but not for others, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I haven't looked into too many reviews. I watched one or two this morning. I haven't seen too many people complaining about the cafe. I've heard a lot of good things and a lot of people saying that the cafe roped them into the history of cars more than they expected, even though that wasn't their jam. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. The things I've heard, the negatives about this game, always online. There's really no offline functionality for this game whatsoever, and we've got to correct that. I mean, that's just it's not as big of a problem as it was 10 years ago, but it will become a big problem years down the line. There's no reason not to have an offline mode in this game. And then the other thing I was very displeased to hear is that there is, in fact, microtransactions in this game. It's essentially marrying the concepts of the old school Gran Turismos that I know and love with GT Sport, which I do know a lot of people loved as well. So that's fine, best of both worlds, but we are seeing some microtransactions infiltrate this series with the online aspects to the point where you can buy credits to, upgrade cars and buy cars and things like that. I hate to see that, because anytime I see that, it tells me that the economy has been geared with that in mind. And so to some extent, they want you to feel the need to buy these credits, right? That's more
Hmm.
often than not the case. So hate to see that in a Sony title, but everything else I've heard is great. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Um, and yeah, these reviews are another successful reviewing cycle for Sony.
Yep.
Number 2, we have more reviews. The Triangle Strategy review roundup, which already won worst title for a game award ever, because it's hard to remember that's a game. But it's doing solid right now. It's sitting at a Metacritic of 83 and an Open Critic of 81. So it's in the 80s. That's solid. Nintendo Insider gave it an 80. They said Triangle Strategy is within reach of strategic perfection, even if some of the efforts that have been made to set it apart falter. Square Enix's return to the tactical RPG genre may not be an outright triumph, but despite the imbalance between narrative and action on the battlefield, there is much more to applaud here than there is to criticize. Eurogamer gave it a recommendation, and they say, despite moving slowly in both its story and in combat, Triangle Strategy ultimately rewards your patience. So, I don't know. I'm curious what you think. I know this wasn't maybe one of our greatest anticipated games of the year, but I truly enjoyed Octopath Traveler. I still need to finish it, and I intend to. And this has kind of been heralded as a bit of a sequel to Octopath Traveler, even though it's not. It's just kind of in spirit a little bit, and it changes quite a few things. With these reviews, what you've been hearing, has it changed your mind? What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, the fact that it says your patience will be rewarded is concerning because I have none. No, I'm just kidding. I would say I'm about as excited as I was. This doesn't add to or remove from the level of excitement I had, which was, I think it looks fairly good, and it's not a high priority, but I might pick it up, especially if I have a break in between some of these other games. If we keep having amazing games I can't wait for that launch months earlier than they should, and I have to wait for them anyway, this might be a great thing to pick up. So
There you
yeah,
go.
looking at some of the more negative reviews and Metacritic, one of the critiques is that it delivers smart tactics, but battles play second fiddle to its dull political lore. But I kind of like political lore, so I don't know if that's going to be
Especially
a
dull
bad.
political lore.
Especially if it's dull. Sign me up. No, but I don't know. I feel like politics and some of those types of things can be interesting. So there's nothing about it that seems like a miss for me, but it's also not the top of my list. I think it looks good.
Yeah. I think for me, I kind of had my peripherals on this game. Um, and for me, if it had come out of the gates and hit high 80s or a 90 or plus, um, then I could see myself getting into this. But as it stands, it feels different enough from Octopath and different enough from my normal game. I have yet to really dive into the tactics based, real time strategy games. That's not really part of my portfolio. So we'll see. We'll see if this one can make it into my rotation at some point. But moving on to our final review roundup for story number 3, the Steam Deck reviews went live, and it's a little bit different than a game. There's no Metacritic on the Steam Deck, but I did pull an IGN review in progress, and it's called The Verdict for Now. And I'll go ahead and just read this. It says, quote, "The Steam Deck is a well-built piece of hardware that feels good to hold and play on. When you're playing a Valve-approved game, it's actually incredible to get this kind of performance out of a device so small and compact, even if the battery can be gone in a flash if you're not careful. But on the eve of its official launch, it isn't the smooth user experience I had hoped it would be. Aside from the frustrations I've come to expect and accept from PC gaming, The biggest problem I've encountered has been spotty compatibility with Steam OS operating system. The dream of being able to play everything in your library on the go is a long way from being realized, and not being able to use Windows just yet makes a lot of those problems temporarily insurmountable. Plus, it means I haven't been able to run our usual PC benchmarking tools. So it's impossible to land on a judgment right now because I literally don't know what the Steam Deck will be able to do by the time the first retail unit arrives at a paying customer's home. But that won't last for long, so check back soon for the final review score. End quote. So that's their verdict as of now. Um, you were pretty interested in this, right? I was kind of unsure about it, but you're definitely interested in picking this up, right?
Yeah, I still am. So, I mean, this is not like the ideal review, right? You hope that it comes out of the gate swinging and is mostly good stuff and less bad stuff. But, um, I this is kind of what I expect from it's a brand new it's hardware, not just software, and it's brand new hardware trying to be compatible with existing software. And it's from a company that like they've mostly been in the software game. This is kind of a really new like this is a very new flagship type of product for them. I don't expect this to be um super polished out of the gate. You hope it would be, but
Yeah.
even less so than like a video game where it's like, okay, we should really get this into order. It's like the Steam Deck is more of an unknown quantity, I feel like, and so I have a little more tolerance for them working out the kinks. However, that tolerance does not necessarily mean I want to buy the first round of this product. Like, I think this first round
Yeah.
is very much for enthusiasts. I considered it. I work from home these days and I don't travel as much, so I don't have as much need for it as I used to. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for next year. I think the second model of this is probably going to be a lot better. Um, but that being said, I mean, it's cool that it is kind of working, right? I think some of the problems is there's some buggy OS issues. It's not necessarily compatible with Windows.
Yeah,
Um,
real quick there, let me throw in forgot to throw in The Verge. They didn't have a kind of a verdict I could pull from, but they did have some bullet points listing good stuff and bad stuff. Good stuff, powerful, high quality hardware at an unheard of price.
mhm.
Infinitely customizable controls, easily lets you balance performance and battery drain, suspend and resume games, doubles as a full Linux PC. Bad stuff, unfinished, buggy software, noisy fan almost never stops whining. Some of the most popular games still don't work. 2 hours or less of battery life at highest fidelity.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is cool, right? Like a fairly powerful PC that's handheld like this is at a decent price point is pretty spectacular. I think
yeah,
that is a win in and of itself. And so I think it deserves some recognition there. Some of the things I'm really excited about this for is like we've talked about how we'd love to go back and play older Pokemon games like red version, blue version, gold and silver. But emulation often is the easiest way to go. And so if you can imagine like emulating certain older games on your Steam Deck with a tactile control, like, and you can customize the controls to fit older games or newer games.
yeah,
Some of those options are really compelling to me. Um, and yeah, I think that's the pretty obvious good, right? I also like the idea if you're playing on Steam, like just being able to play on the go. And then one thing I'm not quite sure of is like, can you up like if you save your game to like the cloud and resume playing on your normal PC? I think that's going to be something if they don't have, they need to
yeah.
have.
It should work the same because it is just a
Right,
PC. At the end of the day, it's
right.
just Steam, right? So as long
So
as there's
that's a
cloud
huge
saves
benefit.
available, as long as there's cloud saves available for a game.
Yeah. And then
So
on the
for
bad stuff, like I was just gonna say the noisy fan is kind of one thing I'm not loving, and I'm hoping that they can get a slightly quieter fan for the next round. That's one thing that makes me hesitate.
yeah, yeah, for me, I'm glad to see this happening. I'm glad to see this space getting a little more competitive with the Switch. Um, for me right now, this to me feels like VR, like the first iteration of VR, even though it's very different in a lot of ways. But it's like I'm gonna wait for round two. Hopefully, a lot of these kinks because I like the pros I'm seeing. I really don't like the cons I'm seeing. 2 hours of
Mhm.
battery life at highest fidelity. That's
Yeah.
that's not great for a handheld, right? Like I don't want to
Hmm.
be sitting next to a wall with this plugged in. So
Yeah.
Hopefully it's successful and we continue to see some iterations on this um, in the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Story number 4 from last week, from last Sunday, we had Pokemon Day announcements. A little bit of a roundup from that whole situation. So I won't go through everything that happened. They had updates for pretty much all of their games. But the headliner news was that Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet were announced for late 2022. To a lot of people's surprise, it's supposed to be coming this year. It's the open world. It's supposed to be an open world game where various towns with no borders blend seamlessly into the wilderness. Will be an evolutionary step for the Pokemon franchise. So those words, I mean, they're getting a lot of
Pun
people thinking
intended.
that this is pun intended. Oh yes, anytime you talk about Pokemon and it evolving,
You have to.
um,
It's the rule.
yeah. So yeah, a lot of people thinking that. I mean, this makes it sound like we're not going to be going on excursions anymore. We're going to be able to come and go from the towns and explore the world freely without loading screens. That's what that sentence reads like to me, but I'll believe it when I see it based on Game Freak's technical prowess that we've seen of late. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what it'll be? You do?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd like to be optimistic here.
It says
I
seamlessly. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're being
Here's the
specific.
question.
Like they're being
Here's the
specific,
question.
and I feel like they wouldn't be if that wasn't what it was going to be.
Yeah, but
It's going to
would
come
they
down to how.
describe? I was gonna say, would they describe Legends as a seamless world? Do they feel like Legends is a seamless world?
I
Probably
think
not, but
I think the specificity of where various towns with no borders blend seamlessly
yeah,
into the wilderness. It's that whole sentence that pretty much describes going beyond what Arceus did. So I think I think it will be more of a true open world in that sense. How well it performs is more of the question I have. How large is the world? How interesting and unique and different are the different towns and biomes? Um,
yeah.
but I think the
Can it
way
look
they've
any
worded
better
this,
than Legends as
yeah,
well?
I'd be surprised. The way they've worded this is like pretty confident for someone who who wouldn't be doing this. So I think they will, and that has me excited. I think graphically it's probably going to look a lot like Arceus,
It's
unfortunately.
gonna,
But
yeah,
but
yeah.
if it one of my critiques with Arceus was that it didn't feel fully open world. I didn't love the Monster Hunter like hub system where you went on these excursions. So that is an improvement automatically. A new Gen 9 is an improvement. Having more of a gym leader system and like more of a
Whoa, spoiler,
traditional
man.
backbone, all of that makes me more excited for this than I was for Arceus, but I'm
Yeah,
still like moderating those expectations because it's Game Freak in
yeah.
my
That's the
opinion.
safe way to proceed. And as you mentioned, what will this world be filled with? We did get the announcement for Gen 9. Um, it's coming, and we even got the 3 starters. There's a grass cat, Sprigatito, fire croc, which I don't know if does he look like a croc to you? He looks more like a dino to me, but maybe he's a crocodile.
Yeah, kind
But
of
he's
both.
named
Either.
yeah, Foy, and then there's a water duckling named Quaxley, who did not get the Spanish flair treatment with his name. He's the odd
Yeah,
one out.
he must have like come over from Britain or something.
Yeah, yeah. They're
Like
like
into the Spanish.
Sprigatito,
Yeah.
Foy, and Quaxley.
Yeah.
Cracks me up. So,
Quaxley.
anyways, yeah, some exciting announcements there. Arceus is getting, or already got, Daybreak update, which was patch 1.1, and just added a few things. Some mysterious mass outbreaks that are apparently different than the mass outbreaks already in the game, and then some different battles. Some more powerful opponent battles are added to the game as well. Um, in addition, those who wish can receive 30 Ultra Balls, Gigaton Balls, and Jet Balls by entering the password Arceus Adventure in the Mystery Gifts menu anytime before March 31st, 2022. So, and one other last thing here I thought was interesting. There's going to be an online animated series set in Pokemon Legends Arceus, the Hisui region, and it's supposed to launch later this year with an original story. So that's actually kind of cool. I'm a little bit excited about that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of their whole MO, right? Is they will release animated series that reinforce the game and drive interest in the game, which drives interest in the series. And um, but
But
it's
when was the
exciting.
last
Yeah.
time? I mean, I guess I could be entirely ignorant to it. I feel like they haven't really focused on the television side of Pokemon in a while. We've seen
Uh,
movies.
no,
Are there current
they've had
shows?
tons of seasons. They've had tons of seasons. Yeah, my daughter
That
has
shows what I
watched
know.
them off and on. Yeah, there's
Okay.
I don't know, like I don't specifically know how frequently they come out, but yeah, they've kept the
Okay.
animated series ongoing. So this isn't surprising to me, but yeah, I think it's good. I don't know if I'll dip into it or not. My daughter might watch it, so I might catch some of it. But overall, Arceus updates probably a good thing. I might dip back in and try and do like battle a couple of people at some point in the future. Although I'm I'm mostly done with it at the moment.
Yeah. Same here. So there should be plenty of Pokemon this year to satiate everyone's appetites.
More than
Story number
enough.
5. Yeah, more than enough. We're gonna call Patch Watch because we got a couple of patches to cover here.
Patch
Just to kick
watch.
things off,
We need a little
we need a
jingle for this
jingle.
specific
Do do
segment.
do do. Patch Watch. Um, there it is, done. Horizon Forbidden West patch 1.06 launched. I believe this was yesterday. I don't have the date in here.
Yeah, I think it was. I
Lots,
think it was like
just a
2 days ago.
boatload of fixes. Yeah, just a boatload of fixes and improvements as well. I went through the entire patch notes, just quest after quest that they are repairing because there's certain fail states where you can break progression or Aloy gets stuck. Um, Graphical improvements, I put a couple of them in here. They fixed several instances of the camera jittering and behaving in an unintentional way. Several craftable quest items had the incorrect model in the workbench interface. Those have now been replaced with the final assets. They've done things for performance and stability, fixed multiple crashes, and then this one everyone's getting a kick out of because this was actually a major complaint. Aloy will not mention her stash quite as often as before. So apparently Aloy just would not shut up about her secret stash, and they tuned that down by like 2%, I think.
The Reddit replies to this update were hilarious. So many people are like, thank God, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Like
That's all I needed from this
that's
game.
all I needed was Aloy to stop. I should put these in my stash. Maybe these should go in my stash. Like we
Have you
get it.
heard about
We
have you
have
heard
a
the good word about the stash?
excuse me, sir. I mean myself. Have you heard the word? Um, yeah. So I, you know,
uh,
I noticed it just enough that I find it mildly amusing. I don't think it. I played about 6 hours of Forbidden West before pausing to let them improve it. I don't think it got to a point where I was like super annoyed by it, but I noticed it enough that I find it amusing. So
yeah.
hopefully that,
I
hopefully
had
that,
not go ahead.
hopefully they dialed it to just the right percentage of stash
Just the
mentioning.
right. I want to still hear about the stash not too infrequently, Actually, I have yet to experience this. So I'm on the outside looking in. Um, Notably, though, they have not fixed. In the not fixed section, it says the team continues to investigate several graphical issues reported by players regarding shimmering, sharpening, and screen saturation when moving the camera. So this is pretty much what everyone's waiting for at this
The
point.
main issues. Yeah.
The main issues that I think a lot of people have, they're at least detracting from the experience quite a bit. If not, I know there's a healthy group of people that have waited, like myself, to play this when that gets fixed. So disheartening to see that's not done. They're still working on it. Hopefully they're able to get that repaired sometime soon. My main takeaway from this whole patch, other than the fact that they're pumping them out and they're trying to fix things, is it just continues to shed light on the fact that this game was not ready. Like just the amount of game breaking bugs you see as you go down the patch notes. Very indicative of a game that could have benefited from a month to 3 month delay, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's heartening to see a studio that is regularly communicating like weekly with fans and breaking down what's in the patches, and the fact that they're addressing like the big issues that are still a problem. I feel like they're doing a really good job with communication of the issues they're having and what's going on, which is great. I appreciate them for that, but it is indicative of something that should have probably shouldn't have been an issue in the first place. So I would love for this issue to be addressed at its root cause, which is development studios taking a little bit longer to finish up their games versus going into overdrive mode after it launches, trying to quickly patch and patch and patch. So good on them for working
Yeah.
hard and communicating. But it's, it's still frustrating that it's like if they had waited a couple of months, it probably would have been in a much, much better state.
Yeah, yeah, it's a frustrating state of affairs. It's frustrating to have a game waiting for you, sitting under your TV, and
Hmm.
it doesn't feel ready to play. So, but good to see them continuing to work on it. And FromSoft is also continuing to work on Elden Ring with all of the chaos that has ensued since their launch. Um, they came out with a patch 1.02. I think it's just 1.02. It says 0.2 again, but could be 1.02.2. Not sure. Um, very, very succinct here. There's a few fixes for PC. Fixed an issue where the graphics card was not being used, resulting in slow performance. So that's good. You want to use your graphics card. Fixed a bug that caused the game to quit under certain conditions during a battle with the fire giant, which no idea who that lovely fellow is. Can't wait to meet him. And fixed other bugs rather generically. And then the PS5, a big fix here that was a pretty large problem. Changes to save game progression even when the game is not terminated. So there were some issues where people were losing a ton of progress if they didn't properly save, quit, and like close the game every time they stopped. If they left it in rest mode or anything like that, the game was not properly saving. So good to see that fixed. That's always one of
Yeah,
the
that's
worst
important.
bugs you can have in a game,
Yeah.
especially a game as difficult as Elden Ring.
Yeah. Can you imagine beating Margit and then putting it into rest mode and you come back? Oh, you
Yeah,
still need to
not
beat him.
fun. Not fun at all. So they'll continue to work on Elden Ring just as well. And we had one other little tidbit here unrelated to official patches, but there's a new Elden Ring PC mod that lets players pause the game. So,
Which I'm not sure if that's heresy for a Souls game or what, but I found it kind of
you know,
amusing in the first place that there's a
what
patch for that.
I don't understand, like I think it's tradition at this point, but
Yeah.
why does this, it's a single, well, I guess there is multiplayer facets, but when in single player mode, why do their games not pause? I
Yeah.
remember back when I first played might have been Dark Souls 3, being so confused at that concept. Like I went to pause the game and something was happening and then I died and I was like, what? Like I'm playing a
Yeah.
single player game by myself.
I
Very
pulled up the
interesting
menu
that
and the
they
guy came and killed me.
yeah, exactly. So it's one of those quirks from Soft
Yeah.
that makes them special. But
Yeah.
I would welcome this patch. I would welcome this mod.
Yeah.
I
You have to
think
be on
pausing in the
PC,
game would be fine.
obviously. You have to be on PC, obviously, but it's by Techie W. And it's simply called Pause the Game. That's the name of the mod. So pretty straightforward if you'd like to be able to
Workshopped that
pause.
one for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so story number 6 is less news and more of a rumor. So don't run to the bank with this one. But reportedly, Infamous and Sly Cooper are in development for the PlayStation 5. An article from DualShockers reads that according to popular industry insider at ACCNGT, a sequel to Infamous and Sly Cooper is reportedly in development. While many might not be aware of who the leaker is, it should be noted that they have quite a credible track record. The leaker revealed details about Star Wars Eclipse several days before the entire reveal took place, and since then a number of scoops have been correct. More important, the recent Fantastic Beasts trailer delay was called beforehand as well, and that too turned out to be true. So his tweets read on March 2nd, even with some delays for some console exclusives, it should be a great year for PlayStation players with the announcement and release of some PlayStation IPs that does their return. That's what it says. A new event is definitely planned this month, and they won't be announcing all their surprises. And then he followed up that tweet by saying, I can corroborate that a new Sly Cooper and a new Infamous are in development. What say you? Is this yay or nay?
I'm going to say yay out of just pure hope. That's all. Like, I love Sly Cooper.
That's the way. This is
I,
the way.
this is the way. I'm at the bank. You said, don't take this to the bank. I've already deposited my life savings. No,
You said what about the bank?
yeah,
I'm already
because
here.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited at the prospect. obviously always take these things with a grain of salt, but Sly Cooper was one of my favorite IPs from PS2. I loved those when I was growing up. I just replayed the first Sly Cooper like 2 years ago and had a lot of fun with it still. So would love to see some new entries and like see what this could be like reimagined on the PS5. Like playing Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart and having my childhood translated into like 4K, is pretty great. So I'd love to see a similar treatment for Sly Cooper. Infamous is cool too. I enjoyed Second Son quite a bit, so excited to see that there might be more of those.
Yeah, I mean, would I be shocked if this happened? No, not really. I think Sony's gearing up to wield all of their IP as best they can in the console war, and maybe even the streaming war, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, streaming war with Xbox Game Pass and all that. So I think Sony wants all they can get. I'd love to see a new Sly Cooper game. Those games were fantastic. I mean, up there with Ratchet and Clank back in the day. And Ratchet and Clank has lived on. Sly Cooper died off. I'd love to see that come back. Did not play Infamous. Dabbled with it, but never got pulled in. Never finished it. So I'd be curious to see what's, if they end up making a full next gen title. I'll be there for it. We'll see. People leak things and they're correct, and then they overreach, and you never know. So to stay away from the bank.
Too late.
Yeah. Story number 7, our final story on the day. Epic buys Bandcamp, which is interesting. Interesting acquisition here. This is coming from PC Gamer. And this is a quote starting off here. It says, "Fair and open platforms are critical to the future of the creator economy," Epic said today in a post on its website. Quote, "Epic and Bandcamp share a mission of building the most artist-friendly platform that enables creators to keep the majority of their hard-earned money. Bandcamp will play an important role in Epic's vision to build out a creator marketplace ecosystem for content, technology, games, art, music, and more. Epic's interest in the creator company also includes its own Epic Game Store, which, like Bandcamp, prides itself on its revenue sharing scheme. Epic takes a 12% cut from game sales rather than the 20 to 30% cut Steam takes." So what are your thoughts here? It's a little bit out of left field, but there's a couple puzzle pieces here that might make some sense.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw this, I just thought it was weird because you think of Epic, you're thinking in terms of video games, and obviously Bandcamp is not that. But I mean, you kind of called it out a little bit about in their quote that the mission they share is building artist-friendly platforms, and that you were saying this to me the other day as well about how it seems like Epic really values better enabling creators in various industries and on various platforms versus some of the competition in the existing incumbents like Steam or like Apple, right? So Epic, pretty famously went toe to toe with Apple. I think it was last year, the year before,
Yeah,
and arguably
to
failed.
varying success.
Yeah, arguably failed in their immediate goal of getting Apple to reduce its prices of, which is, so Apple charges 30% for any digital transaction that happens through their iOS ecosystem, which is a lot. Like the margins many apps would make cannot support that. And so I think that is very arguably a developer, super anti-developer
Yeah, it's
pricing model
egregious.
and stance to
It
take, which
is.
is very ironic because Apple in like the 90s going into the 2000s was supposedly all about being developer friendly. So it's interesting to see how a company can shift like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that 30% is egregious. And I think we see something similar with Steam, like 20 to 30% is a lot. So a platform that takes less, like on the Epic Game Store, that's good for people making games. And then for Bandcamp, you have to imagine there's some similar pricing issues that are happening on larger platforms versus what you can get out of Bandcamp. So I guess from a mission standpoint, it makes sense the way they've described it, but it is still kind of strange. Like, it seems like it's very outside of the normal wheelhouse of Epic.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, Apple used to be a certain way. Now they're trying to take over the world, right? Companies, essentially, they get to a point where no company cares about you, right? So it's hard to really truly root for Epic or anything like that, because, or even, Xbox and their Game Pass and all these things they're doing, because, you know, leadership can change, all this stuff can change overnight. But a lot of what they're doing does right now, it seems nice. It's great for the artists, the creators. I wonder what the end game is with this. That's my true
Mm-hmm.
question. They say it's to build out a creator marketplace ecosystem for pretty much everything. So I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder. I mean, they've gone after Apple. They've gone after Steam. I mean, these are some of the biggest companies you can go after. It kind of makes me wonder. Do they? I don't know what the splits are on Spotify. I know a lot of artists have been unhappy with Spotify and the way that it monetizes, but I don't know. Would Epic go after Spotify? That seems so out of their wheelhouse, but in line with their ideology. So I'd be curious if maybe they're trying to make a play at the music market in general, like Spotify or Apple Music, or if this is simply to help lift up, Unreal Engine 5 or the Epic Game Store, or incorporate music or sounds or assets like that better. Um, I don't know. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see to what extent they leverage this purchase.
it's interesting. I mean, I think their kind of ethos of wanting to step up and challenge like the big player, the bigger brother type figures is funny, and it's a very interesting parallel with Apple from like the 1980s. In 1984, Apple had this huge ad campaign they ran about how they were going to make sure 1984 wasn't like 1984 the book or the movie. And it like has this woman throw a sledgehammer onto a screen that has like a big brother type figure, and it was representing IBM at the time. And so IBM was the big power player, and Apple was like this scrappy underdog up and comer supposedly. And it's just interesting to see Apple's very much now in this bigger brother type
Mhm.
mold, potentially Spotify, and they're trying to play this underdog. And so I always just find it interesting that it's like they're trying to frame themselves as like, empowering people, which I think they are trying to do that. But it does go to show like history probably will repeat itself if they're
Right.
successful. It's important to keep these things in mind. But it will be interesting to see,
Mhm.
maybe they are able to disrupt some of the challenges and problems that the creator economy has for game developers, as well as like music artists and other types of people. They might be able to find some ways to better distribute um, revenue and funds so that creators can make more from what they're doing, which fits in line with the direction the general creator economy is going. So I think there are some interesting and potentially good things there. But like you said, you always got to keep in mind that these companies are about increasing their relevance and their worth. So that's worth keeping in mind.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Epic, this goes to show Epic has literally more money than they know what to do with, but they're trying to find ways to use it. So, and you know what they say, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So, 2040, 2050, Epic will be the new Apple, maybe. We'll see. The real question everyone's going to want to know is, what does this mean for Sour Notes? Because Sour Notes is exclusive. It's a great album from back in what, 2012,
Yeah, it's
and
an
it's
incredible
exclusive to
EP.
Bandcamp. So
Yeah,
yeah,
an incredible EP
we'll have
by
to see.
yours truly, uh, Levi and
Yours
and
truly.
Zach
How do you make that
ourselves.
plural?
Yours truly's is.
So I
Yeah,
assume
it's
we'll
a
get a call
completely
from
unfinished
Epic
EP.
soon.
Sure. Yeah,
We'll get a call from Epic soon detailing what this means for Sour
yeah,
Notes and Bandcamp. So that'll
yeah,
be, we'll keep you updated. We'll keep you updated there.
yeah. I look
That
forward to seeing what
concludes.
types of checks come through from them
Yeah,
from
yeah, there
our
should be something in
EP.
the mail,
Yeah,
surely. Surely. Well, that concludes this week in gaming for March 3rd, 2022. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can find us over on Patreon at patreon.com/neverlag, neverlag, not
not
neverlog.
never
Don't go
log.
to neverlog.
Don't go there. Trust us.
That's a that's an
Something
issue for a
else.
doctor. Um, and thank you for watching, for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment, and we will catch you on the next This Week in Gaming.